Welcome to the Indie Fantasy Club, where today we're having a conversation with Matt Moore, author of Demonology and the Art of Pickling Demons. If you haven't seen my review of that book, I'll add a link in the video description below so you can check it out. Matt also has a YouTube channel called No Fluff Writing Advice, so you should definitely go check out his channel as well. And so without further ado, Matt, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, great to be here.
You've mentioned that you've worked as a ghostwriter for entrepreneurs and business owners as part of your career. Was it this connection to ghosts that made you want to write a book about them?
That's not the question I expected. I don't think that job had any bearing on the content for Demonology and the Art of Pickling Demons. It's a good question because now I'm wondering, where did that idea come from? I think I wanted to write a demon positive story. There's so much demon negativity out there. And I just wanted to sort of spin it in a different way. Like, maybe they're not so bad. Maybe we can all learn to get along. They do get a bad rap. I think I say in the book, they're demonized, and it's not always justified.
It's a unique premise, not only the act of pickling demons, which in and of itself is unique, but just the whole concept of exploring, the demon realm and how that impacts this society or the world that you're in. So I thought that was pretty interesting. By the way, everyone, we are decorating bookmarks today. So I'm decorating the cover of Demonology and the Art of Pickling Demons on just some black paper today. I know Matt mentioned in the comments of one of my YouTube videos when I announced this series that he would be willing to eat a bookmark. So I don't know. We'll see how we're feeling at the end of this and see if we make you eat one of these. But
I said that as a joke. Foolishly said it as a joke. I did commit to eating one bookmark, no more, no less. The no more part I think was smart. Like I set an upper limit. That's good contract negotiation. The no less part, that wasn't so smart.
I don't know why I got involved in that contract because you were the one who committed to it, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how we're feeling as we chat. But you wrote this book about pickling demons, so I have to ask this: what is your favorite pickled snack?
Oh, that is a really tough question because I like most pickled snacks. Pickled garlic's great. Pickled pickles, great. That's an easy one. Pickled onions. I live in Tasmania. We have a great pickled onion scene down here, believe it or not. Really exciting stuff. I might say pickled onions. If I had to pick one, I might say pickled onions because the ones we get down here are so good.
Pickled onions on sandwiches or salads is so freaking delicious. I just recently started, ironically, nothing to do with this interview, but I recently started doing some just homemade pickling just for fun. And out of all of them, my favorite is pickled green beans. So that is my new favorite pickled snack.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever come across a pickled green bean. I guess you can pickle anything you put your mind to.
Matt, I think you should do that on your channel. You should have some pickling content on there.
Maybe I should. I'll start small and then slowly escalate until, we're probably getting into sketchy pickling territory. Maybe I'll make my way all the way up to demons. We'll see.
There we go. That's what we're hoping to see. You have a full-time job. You make YouTube videos, and I know how long that can take. And you also obviously write stories. So do you have time for any other hobbies, or does that pretty much sum up your life right there?
At the moment, I don't have time to write stories, and that's a problem. Because work 5 days a week, family stuff on weekends. I do commit whatever it takes to get the YouTube stuff done, which can sometimes be a full work day, essentially on a Sunday. So it's like working 6 days a week sometimes. So right now, no, I don't have any more hobbies and I don't even have time to write, but I'm trying to fix that. I just haven't figured out how to fix it yet.
Do you have any plans of writing anything in the universe that you've already written or any other types of stories that you've been chewing on recently?
I do have a sequel for Demonology planned, but that'll be later down the track. I want to get into some different stuff. That was more of Demonology was more of an answer to people asking me, what have you written? Where can I read it? Because I got so caught up in work, I hadn't published anything. And then I wrote this back in 2021 and sat on it for a few years. It's like, I just need to get it out there so I have an answer to that question. And it's very accessible. It doesn't have a narrow target market, which is a mistake in a lot of ways, but it's like this book had a certain purpose. The next one I do will be more focused. It will be more adult, less watered down, less PG. So I do have a few ideas floating around. One I've sort of started. I've got a couple of chapters down. I'm not sure if that's the one I'll continue with. I've been reading I got into a new genre, lit RPG. I'd heard of it.
Yes.
I didn't know what it was. And a few months ago, the first one I read, I did the audiobook, was Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yes.
It's like, this is amazing. It's funny. It's technically still fantasy, but it's a whole different take on the genre. Mm-hmm. The audiobooks are great. I never thought I'd become a fan of a narrator, a voice actor, but several voice actors now. It's like it's just next level. It's magic. It's almost magic what they can do. So I would like to do something in the lit RPG genre that's different. So there are a lot of elements of that genre that I don't like I guess the main elements that make it that genre, like the stat dumps and the
same.
all this. It's a lot of
it's
information.
Like exposition.
Yeah, like you've got to know what everyone's stats are and what skills they've got, and they keep rattling them off. A lot of these series do. So I want to find a way to write in that genre, but in a way that I would enjoy, if that makes sense.
And I actually think, based off of your writing style, that you would actually be a good fit for lit RPG, because it is lighthearted and has a kind of a fun, fast-paced feel to it. Granted, I've only read one lit RPG book, and it was War Games recently. But to me, that's kind of how it felt. And with your tone of like humor in your writing and kind of the fast-paced way that you write, I could see that genre working pretty well for you, actually.
Yeah, I had the same idea once I started getting deeper into the genre, because the book I started writing that I'm 2 chapters into, I'm almost writing lit RPG without the lit RPG elements. So I'm like, okay, I could see myself sort of sliding into that genre. I'm still new to it. I'm still pretty fresh. There are some series I have liked, some I haven't liked, but yeah, it seems like an interesting, different path to explore.
To be fair, I don't know that I would agree or disagree with you when you said that having a broad audience is a bad thing, because I think that you've written it in such a way where I personally would have liked to see a little more PG-13 rated R action with some of the demonology aspects that happened in your book, which I said in my review, but I still think that it worked really well with your style, and it made it accessible for just everyone, where like I'm willing to give up some of the more like gore or brutality or some of that aspects of it to allow more people to enjoy that particular story.
And that was the thought behind it. It was a little bit more violent in an earlier draft. And a friend of mine actually read, he might even watch this. Shout out to Tom, helped me a lot with the book. Yeah, he knows stories. Some of the more violent scenes didn't fit the overall tone of the book. And based on his feedback, I did tone them down. But I mean, it could have been taken to the other extreme as well if I really wanted to make it demonic.
I think there's definitely a lot of opportunity to darken that series. But again, that would be my preference, but I would also like to see that entire book expanded into a trilogy. But those are just like, little like wishes that I have, because I liked it so much and I felt like it went so quickly.
It's funny you should say that, because I think every review that has been posted mentions the pacing. It's like, it's too quick. And now that I've had time to think about it and look back on it, I agree with that. I definitely would have put some more in the second half of the book, because that does happen quite quickly. I don't think I would turn it into a trilogy, in hindsight, just because of what the purpose of this book was. It was meant to be sort of a packaged all-in-one story. It could have a trilogy. It doesn't necessarily need it for it to make sense. So I didn't want to drag it out. But that feedback, your review and all the other reviews I've got about the pacing has been really valuable because it's going to help me shape the next stories. I like fast-paced, but I realized I went a little bit too hard on the throttle with Demonology. And there's, room for improvement there.
But even then, I feel like it's a really solid debut. Like, I know a lot of people talk about debut books and how, like, typically you have to write several books before your debut is, like, ready for publishing. That's what Brandon Sanderson's philosophy is. And although I agree that you, for the most part, that's what you need in most cases to have practice, I think that your background in writing probably prepared you to be able to actually produce a high quality book for your debut.
So I should say something about that as well. It was the first one I went out and like fully published, but I'd been practicing. I'd written 5 fiction manuscripts before that. So that was just experimenting, trying to get my style down, seeing what works, what doesn't. Like, I made some huge mistakes in all of those that I didn't make again in this one. I made new mistakes in this one, but getting those 5 out of the way first meant I didn't make some of the bigger mistakes I could have made. So I definitely recommend someone getting as many under their belt as they can before they actually put anything out there.
Okay, so you also followed the practice method before publishing.
It's pretty accurate advice. It's pretty good advice, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with Brandon Sanderson. So he's pretty much the king of writing a bunch of books and at a pretty good quality. So you are from Australia, and I mean, obviously, if people couldn't tell from the accent, Matt is from Australia. And if you were summoned from the demon realm, where would you force your host to travel to?
I would force them. I'd probably do a world trip, because I've never been outside of Australia. So I'd get like a around the world ticket. It's like, we're going everywhere. We're seeing it all.
But what would be your first stop if your time was limited?
I'd like to see some pyramids, either in Egypt or the South American ones. I want to see some cool old stuff that people built. I don't know what's safer, South America or Egypt. I think it's a bit of a coin toss, isn't it?
Well, from what I've seen on TikTok, Egypt is like an annoying place to visit because you get like bombarded more aggressively by the like vendors and stuff in Egypt that try and convince you that like you have to pay for certain things to see the different, touristy spots like the Great Pyramid and stuff. So, but obviously they have more famous pyramids. So it's
some pros and cons to both.
So you like the architecture aspect of traveling. You like seeing history rather than like a beach vacation or something.
Yeah, I think to start with, I'd want to see some architecture. But once I'd seen enough of that, I'd be traveling for the food, I think. Whoever has the best food.
So what type of food is your favorite? Would you consider yourself a foodie?
I like food. I don't know a lot about it. I can cook some okay basic dishes. I like experimenting in the kitchen, but it's like, I don't think I have a favorite. I like to try new stuff. So whatever is new and interesting. Yeah, I don't know where I'd go first for food.
And I'm not super familiar with, Australian cuisine, but is there a favorite dish that you have in Australia that you would recommend to an American if they were to visit Australia?
Yeah, I think we've sort of hijacked a lot of cuisines from other countries, other cultures. We've got Vegemite. That's not really a cuisine though.
I have heard of Vegemite. I don't know that I would try that if someone recommended it to me. But
you got to try it once and then maybe never again. Yeah, I don't think we really have like a national dish. Maybe the meat pie is pretty popular here, but I'm sure they're doing that in other places as well.
I mean, I'm from a part of America that is not well known for its cuisine. So, you typically, when you think about food in America, you think about Texas, which has like barbecue. And then you have California that has good Mexican places. You've got New York that has good like pizza and sandwiches. And so like, depending on where you are in America, you get access to different kinds of foods. But where I'm at, it's basically just chain restaurants.
Well, hopefully that changes. There's always room for progress. Maybe you'll get a few nice local restaurants opening up.
In the indie publishing space, you have to wear a bunch of different hats. You have to be a writer, you have to be a marketer, you have to be the publisher. Like, there's just so much that goes into it. So what's been the most unexpected or most challenging hat that you've had to wear in this particular publishing journey?
Probably the hardest thing is the marketing, like getting your book in front of people. You know, that's why I contacted you once I was familiar with your channel and thought that would be a good fit for the book. Even though I was still a bit unsure based on the, you know, it's a wacky concept. And then doing the YouTube channel as well, going into that, hoping to grow that, and eventually just finding ways, because I'm not really a social media person. I don't want to be on Instagram and TikTok and all of that. So I had to make the decision. It's like, how do I use social media in some way, in a way I'll actually enjoy? So then I did the YouTube thing. It's been great. I enjoy making the videos. I enjoy coming up with the content. So it's more challenging from I'm still learning a lot in that area, but just the time to do it, because it's a constant, it's every week.
I don't know how indie authors do it, because the market is so saturated and there's just, you know, obviously so many books getting published. And even in my small circle of influence, as I've started to get more like submissions from authors, like I'll read a book and I'll be stunned that it's not traditionally published. It's like such a high quality book that's so engaging and interesting that I'm like, no one knows about this book but me. Like, and it's such a crazy concept to think about. But I'm kind of like you in that sense, where I don't love social media. As a matter of fact, I hate social media. But I do like TikTok and I like YouTube. I like the video content. But yeah, Instagram, Twitter, all of those, it brings me more frustration than enjoyment. So I'm willing to sacrifice those on the marketing altar for the others.
I was the same. It's like, you want to enjoy it, especially if you've got to do it every day. And it's, I think marketing is probably a blind spot for a lot of authors. It's not something I really thought of when I started writing. I know you've got a marketing video out there which really sort of gives a lot of good strategies, some stuff that I hadn't thought of. One thing that you mentioned that I did was lower the price of my book, because I had a wrong, maybe a faulty idea of what that should be. Not that I thought my book was worth a lot as a debut indie fantasy novel, but I didn't want to put it too low, because I thought, you know, I've sold stuff on Facebook Marketplace before, and if you put it for free or too cheap, everyone thinks there's something wrong with it. But if you put it, you've got to find that sweet spot price-wise, so people are actually interested, say, oh, this must be okay. But it's, so I had that same mindset with the book, but I think you're right. It needs to be a price that's accessible to people, and that where they are willing to take a chance on it.
Yeah, at least in the beginning. Like, I definitely want indie authors to get paid for the work that they do, but I think that building the audience first and getting like a fan base that will talk about your work is so critical, that it's just one of those things that has to be sacrificed in the beginning in order to just build that initial following. But even then, it's a challenge. I do think it like depends on every person's situation, what's going to work for them. But yeah, marketing is such a tough skill, I guess, to master. Because even I'll get people who submit to me that will be like, hey, I'm releasing a book next month. Will you read it? And I've got such a long TBR that I'm like, I can't do that. And so like, that's almost like you need to be thinking about how to market your book like 6 months into the future, almost, or a year, to be able to get onto these people's TBRs, to get people to review it and all those types of things. And I don't think that a lot of people understand that marketing is takes such a long time, because they have spent so much time writing their book that they've, in their mind, have crossed the finish line.
Yeah, they've done the hard part.
They've done the hard
part.
They think. Now they just have to make money. Like, how hard can it be? But I do feel like Australians and Australian indie fantasy is kind of like on the rise. I don't know if that's because that's my audience who happen to watch my channel, or if it's just we're getting more books from Australians that we haven't gotten a ton from in the past. But what's something about the Australian fantasy storytelling that you think sets it apart from maybe other regions?
I don't know if I can answer that. I'm not really tapped into the Australian fantasy scene at all. Probably is a bit of a miracle when any of our books do make it into the through the noise, because we have such a small population here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the current populate, but it's in like the 20 millions. That's a big city in the US. Like what's Los Angeles, a place like that, where we've got the population of a city. My guess would be why not so many have made it through is because we don't have as many people writing. But why they're making it through now, or why there's more, I couldn't even guess.
Man, I was hoping you'd have an inside scoop or a pulse on the market over there, that there's some secret sauce that they're feeding you. But
I know I need to get more tapped into what's happening locally.
Well, because I've had, just on my list, I've had like 4 or 5 Australian authors who have sent me books, and every single one of them have been fantastic. So usually, from an odds perspective, you would think like maybe half would fall off and half would be good. But the fact that every single one was like highly interesting, like we had Paul Fortunato, who's Australian, Delilah Wan was Australian, you obviously, and then I've had several submissions since then that are from Australian authors. So maybe it's just me, maybe it's just people in Australia want to be part of the indie fantasy club, but it seems to me like there are a lot of Australian authors out there that I just haven't been as aware of.
You might be onto something. Maybe there is something going on down here that I wasn't aware of. I got to tap in.
Again, I mentioned that you have a YouTube channel where you give a lot of No Fluff Writing Advice. Cut the fluff. What about giving our audience today a piece of no fluff indie publishing advice? Just from your experience, what would you tell our audience so that they can better prepare for their indie publishing journey?
Well, the marketing one we've already discussed. That's a big one. I'm probably not the best person to give a great answer for that question, because I didn't really publish in the right way. It was literally get this out there so I've got something. I did plan to go through a more professional process with it. If I kept waiting for the perfect storm, it never would have got out there. The next one I plan to do in a much more planned and deliberate way. But I guess overall advice, I would say write what you want to write, because there's a market for everything. So don't try and, unless that's your thing, unless you enjoy trying to chase trends and ride those trend waves and whatnot, but write what you want to write. There is a market for everything, but you need to find that market. You need to be prepared to find those people, or help those people find your book. That's what it's. Hopefully that's accurate. I don't want to send someone in the wrong direction, but that's just what I've seen from other authors more than me. It's like, all right, this is a really sort of interesting, different take on a genre, whatever it might be, and it's found an audience. It's like, the people are out there.
I agree. And we've seen evidence of that with, like you mentioned, random books that get cult followings almost, like Dungeon Crawler Carl, which you would assume as a lit RPG where not a lot of people are really interested in that particular genre, you would assume like, oh, that's just going to be a small, publishing success. But that has become a massive success. And so you just never know what's going to pop off, which I think you're again right, where that's why you shouldn't chase trends, because by the time you've chased a trend, a new one emerges and it often gets saturated. The example that I think of is like, you have one dystopian book that takes off, and then you have 10 years of dystopian books that kind of try and follow in those footsteps, and then you'll have another genre that takes off.
Yeah, unless you're a really fast writer and you enjoy chasing those trend waves and you can actually catch one, it's like you're better off just to, what are you passionate about? What are you going to enjoy writing? And then go with that.
Yep, completely agree. I think that's great advice. I think that it's just about time that we, take a look at our bookmarks, and let's see what you've got on your end first.
So I've gone a bit wild with the colors. I didn't even think before we did this. I need to draw the picture on there as well. I did this before we started the call, which I'm glad I did, because there's no way. Look how bad it looks when I was able to concentrate on it. Imagine if I wasn't concentrating trying to draw that. But yeah, I've put some color into it.
I like it. I think that looks great. I added a little bit to the cover because I felt like it needed to feature. I feel like in your book, first of all, I forgot to mention this, but Malamark Murphy is one of the greatest character names that I've read in a long time. So I wanted to just, I forgot to say that in my review, so I'm saying that now. And the demons that he has in him, I feel like we at least needed to feature one more. So I added one more demon on there. You can, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah,
but we've got
that looks
the jar
great.
on the bottom, the jar on the top. This one is the merchant demon, and this is the intelligent demon. So I put him in a red wine vinegar brine.
I like it. That looks great. That almost looks good enough to eat.
You think?
Yeah.
Did I give it a try?
I think it does. I think you should try it.
So good and tasty.
Huh. It's actually not bad. Pickling demons, pickled demons probably don't taste great. But I'm just curious if you think that if your bookmark might taste okay with a pickled demon on it.
I did make the commitment. It was a joke for the record, but I'm a man of my word. I will eat one bookmark, no more, no less. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Matt. This tastes pretty terrible.
Rice paper. It's meant to be edible. This doesn't taste edible. This is like a sheet of plastic.
I went the seaweed route. It's not good.
It got you on taste. It got me on texture.
Yeah, I think we'll have to leave it at a half a bookmark for me.
Yeah, it's still usable.
Yeah, unscathed. So you can still use that bookmark if you need to. So before we drop off today, I just want to give you the floor to tell us a little bit about your book that you've written, or really anything else that you'd like to highlight. If you want to talk about your YouTube channel, I just want to make sure that the floor is yours.
We've talked about the book. If anyone wants to read it, it's on Amazon. If anyone wants some No Fluff Writing Advice, jump onto the No Fluff Writing Advice YouTube channel. I've started doing reviews now as well, which is not something I planned to do. I read Brandon Sanderson's Wind and Truth. Big Brandon Sanderson fan, but I had a lot of issues with that book. So I thought, I'm going to do a video about it. And the reviews actually do quite well. So it's like now I've turned into a book reviewer as well somehow. The way I do it is a lot easier than the job you have, because I know none of the authors I'm talking about are actually going to watch the review. So I can be a bit loose with it. You've got the opposite. Every author you review is going to watch the review.
Yeah, that's true. But it does not, I will say this, it doesn't affect the rankings as I review books, but it does bring me pain a little bit sometimes if it has to be a harsh review. So I like it when I get to give very positive reviews for the books that I've received.
Yeah, you're just hoping for a good one.
I'm hoping for a good one. And I did watch your video on the Wind and Truth review, which I haven't read, but I liked the points that you made in it. And it was similar to some of the other reviews that I've seen, where it just kind of was a little bit slow and the payoffs was like all crammed into the very end. And I'm going to read it at some point, but I've got too long of an indie TBR for the time being. So, but yeah, I agree. Go check out Matt's YouTube channel. Like he said, he gives like really brief, quick clips into different writing strategies and skills and tools that you can leverage to make your writing better. And he does give great reviews that are funny. He's got a great sense of humor. So definitely worth a watch over there. Yeah, so thanks so much for joining this BookmarkIt interview to my wonderful Indie Fantasy Club. Matt, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. By the way, his book got, I think, an 8.7 out of 10. So if you know my indie ranking scale, that's definitely worth a read. But yeah, that's it for today's interview. So yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of BookmarkIt. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, don't forget to join the Indie Fantasy Club to learn more about the rising stars of the self-publishing arena. But that's it for now, so we will catch you in the next episode.